The room fell silent. Cameras that had been clicking in rhythmic bursts suddenly froze mid-flash, like the entire fashion world had inhaled at once and forgotten how to breathe. There, under the blinding white light of the Balenciaga runway in Paris, Meghan Markle, former Duchess, now global celebrity, stepped forward in a dazzling all-white ensemble. A sculpted blazer dress, matching gloves, sunglasses that seemed to announce her before she even spoke. And yet, what came next wasn't about the outfit. It was about a move so small, so brief, and yet so explosive, that within hours the clip would ricochet across social media, ignite a feud with Anna Wintour herself, and send shockwaves through the tight-lipped world of high fashion etiquette. Tell me this. What's worse in Paris, the wrong outfit or the wrong attitude? Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Because when Meghan stepped into that show, she wasn't just attending another runway. She was walking straight into the most rigidly choreographed social dance in the world. Every gesture, every step, every glance is accounted for. Who sits where? Who enters first? Who dares to speak to whom? In that rarefied air, reputation is currency, and Meghan, with her past headlines and fractured royal ties, was already walking on a razor's edge. But the story didn't start with the flashbulbs. It started backstage, hours before the show began, when whispers began circulating that the Duchess had made special requests. Requests that reportedly included prime seating, near Anna Wintour's circle, not in the secondary celebrity section where most A-listers without couture contracts sit, and a separate entrance, to avoid waiting in line with influencers and press. Now, to anyone else, this might sound like standard celebrity logistics. But to the gatekeepers of Paris Fashion Week, such behavior is a statement. It says, I'm not just attending. I belong. And that, precisely, is what set the stage for the moment that would change everything. Imagine the scene, the Balenciaga venue, a minimalist space lit like a cathedral of light. Rows of icy white chairs, each with a name card as sacred as a throne. Editors, models, billionaires. The sound of heels clicking on marble. Then suddenly, a commotion near the entrance. A wave of camera flashes erupts. Meghan Markle has arrived. She pauses for a moment, that practiced Hollywood smile forming just enough to charm the lenses. Every inch of her posture screams confidence. Chin up, shoulders back, that signature stride that says she knows the world is watching. But here's where things get strange. As she makes her way down the aisle, a woman, an older, elegantly dressed guest with a Vogue invitation clasped in hand, steps slightly forward to greet someone. Meghan slows, hesitates for a split second, then steps around her. Not behind, not waiting for the guest to move aside. She moves ahead, cutting through the invisible order that dictates who walks when, who yields, who commands the spotlight. To most onlookers, it's a blink and you miss it moment. But to those steeped in fashion's unspoken hierarchy, it's a breach. And standing just feet away, Anna Wintour's glasses tilt slightly downward, revealing the faintest flicker of disbelief. That look alone, cold, sharp, assessing, was enough to turn an awkward shuffle into a headline. So what exactly happened? Was Meghan oblivious, or was she making a statement? That's where the contradictions begin. Some insiders claimed Meghan's team had been told she'd walk in behind a certain high-profile editor, but due to a miscommunication, she entered too early. Others insist Meghan intentionally jumped the order to ensure maximum camera exposure. The truth may lie somewhere in between, but perception, especially in Paris, has never been kind to missteps. Within minutes, guests were murmuring. Phones buzzed with messages. And somewhere backstage, someone started replaying that short clip on their phone, whispering, "Did you see that?" But here's the part no one expected. Anna Wintour herself had been recording a behind-the-scenes highlight reel. Harmless, polished, standard Vogue content, until her team clipped that very moment. No commentary, no context, just Meghan walking ahead, lips pursed, expression unreadable. The video dropped quietly on Vogue's Paris account later that evening. No caption, no explanation. And yet, in less than an hour, it was trending under one brutal phrase: classless act. Isn't it wild how silence can scream louder than words? Because Anna Wintour didn't have to say a thing. She let the fashion world interpret for her. Influencers dissected the footage frame by frame, body language experts gave interviews, etiquette coaches weighed in. The consensus was merciless. Meghan had broken the unwritten code. She'd acted like a celebrity in a world that demands reverence. Still, not everyone agreed. Some defended her, saying she was unfairly targeted, that her confidence was being recast as arrogance, that Anna's move was a calculated act of subtle retaliation. And maybe that's true. After all, Meghan has long been both magnet and lightning rod. Loved by millions, doubted by just as many. She's navigated royalty, Hollywood, and activism, all under constant scrutiny. But in that Paris moment, all her worlds collided. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered that Anna's demeanor changed after the show, that she'd quietly declined Meghan's greeting at the exit, that her staff received instructions to adjust seating protocols for future shows. And when Vogue's follow-up coverage excluded Meghan's arrival entirely, the message was clear: the Queen of Fashion had drawn a line. Now pause for a second, because this isn't just gossip. This is about power. Pure, silent, immovable power. In Hollywood, image is everything. But in fashion, placement is everything. One step forward at the wrong time can be the difference between being seen as iconic or being seen as intrusive. Meghan, who has built her post-royal brand on control, suddenly lost control in the most public way possible. And here's where the emotional weight hits. You can almost imagine her in that car ride afterward, Paris glittering through the tinted windows, her team scrolling through headlines, whispering damage control strategies. Did she realize how quickly it had all spiraled? Did she know Anna Wintour's silence would speak volumes? Did she wonder whether she'd just been quietly exiled from the very circle she was desperate to join? Because make no mistake, Anna Wintour doesn't feud, she erases. And in the world of luxury fashion, erasure is worse than exile. It means no invites, no covers, no contracts. It means you don't exist in the rooms that shape global image. But let's rewind. Why did this matter so much? Why did one minor seating incident spark such fury? Because at its core, fashion isn't about fabric, it's about hierarchy. Paris Fashion Week isn't just a spectacle. It's a ritual of power and exclusivity that has remained untouched for decades. To break that unspoken code isn't just a slip, it's a rebellion. And when the rebel is Meghan Markle, a woman whose every move already carries political undertones, the world takes notice. There's a cruel irony here. Meghan once dreamed of being accepted by elite institutions, first royalty, then Hollywood, now fashion. Each time, she's faced resistance. Each time, her confidence has been reframed as defiance. And yet, each time, she's doubled down, refusing to conform. Maybe this moment in Paris wasn't arrogance. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was her saying, "I've waited long enough." Still, perception is a stubborn beast. And Anna Wintour, ever the chess master, understood that perfectly. By releasing the clip without comment, she weaponized ambiguity. The world filled in the blanks for her, and Meghan once again became the story. The fallout spread fast. Major fashion accounts reposted the video. Editors began murmuring about professionalism. PR insiders speculated that Meghan's team had overreached in trying to secure top-tier treatment. Some even claimed that Balenciaga's leadership regretted inviting her at all, that they had wanted buzz, not controversy. And yet, even in the midst of the storm, there was fascination. People couldn't look away. Because love her or hate her, Meghan knows how to command attention. Maybe too well. So the question remains, did she do it on purpose? Was it a carefully choreographed statement, or an innocent mistake magnified by bias? That question hung over Paris like perfume, sweet, lingering, impossible to ignore. And as the lights dimmed at the end of the show, and the guests filed out in silence, Anna Wintour reportedly turned to her assistant and said, almost under her breath, "Well, that was unfortunate." Unfortunate. One word that can freeze careers. Because in Anna's world, unfortunate doesn't just mean bad luck, it means bad form. And in fashion, bad form is the one thing no amount of PR can fix. But here's the twist. That 13-second clip? It wasn't the whole story. Someone had filmed more, much more. And what that extended footage revealed would ignite an even bigger scandal. The cameras may have stopped flashing, but the fallout had only just begun. At Paris Fashion Week, power isn't worn, it's seated. Every inch of space in those front rows carries meaning. Who sits where determines everything. Who's in, who's out, who's forgiven, and who's forgotten. And this year, at Balenciaga's Spring-Summer 2026 show, that invisible hierarchy wasn't just tested, it was shattered. The moment Meghan Markle took that fateful step ahead, she didn't just break a rule of courtesy. She broke a centuries-old code that defines the balance of power in the fashion world. So let's take you inside this world, inside the Paris power circle. A world where smiles hide rivalries sharper than stilettos, and where one misplaced step can erase years of influence. The unspoken rule: respect the order of prestige. The front row isn't simply about fashion. It's a throne room, carefully curated by the Queen herself, Anna Wintour. For decades, Anna's word has been law in this space. Editors, models, designers, even billionaires move with quiet obedience around her authority. Her iconic bob and black glasses aren't just fashion, they're armor. When she nods, invitations are sent. When she frowns, careers end. And in this rigid ecosystem, every move is choreographed long before the first model hits the runway. Seating charts are discussed weeks in advance, with designers negotiating placements like diplomats in a peace treaty. Balenciaga, Chanel, Dior, they all know that one misplaced name can trigger outrage. But here's where Meghan comes in. She wasn't just any guest. She was the guest people whispered about. The woman whose every appearance is a statement. Once royal, now rogue. For Anna Wintour, her presence was a risk, a test of control in an already volatile room. Think about it. Fashion Week isn't designed for unpredictability. It's a performance, and Anna is the conductor. Meghan's presence brought chaos into a setting that thrives on control. Because when Meghan walks in, it's never just about clothes. It's about perception. It's about rewriting a story the British establishment once wrote for her. And that's precisely why this moment mattered. Now, for anyone who's never attended a major fashion show, let's make this clear. The front row is sacred. The left side is reserved for press powerhouses, Vogue, Elle, Harper's Bazaar. The center? That's for A-list celebrities, high-profile editors, and billionaire patrons. The right? Reserved for creative directors, close friends of the designer, or legacy names that have been around for decades. Every seat represents decades of influence, reputation, and strategy. So when Meghan arrived and took a position slightly ahead of a guest Anna personally escorted in, it wasn't just a small stumble. It was a spark in a room full of gasoline. Here's where things get fascinating. Insiders say Anna had orchestrated the seating plan meticulously. The power triangle, as they call it, included herself, a European royal fashion patron, and a long-standing Vogue partner. Meghan's seat, according to multiple sources, was originally positioned 2 rows back, still prestigious, but not prime. But hours before the show, Meghan's team allegedly made a call requesting adjustments. Their reasoning? Visibility. Visibility. The word that defines Meghan's entire post-royal identity. Visibility means relevance, and in Paris, relevance means everything. Yet in asking to be moved, she unknowingly placed herself in Anna's direct sphere, a dangerous place to be if the Queen of Fashion doesn't invite you herself. And here's where the contradictions begin. Some sources say Anna approved the adjustment out of politeness, even though it caused quiet frustration among her staff. Others say the approval never came, that Meghan's team interpreted silence as consent. Either way, by the time Meghan entered the show, that small shift in the seating chart had already shifted the energy of the entire room. You could feel it. The stiffness, the pause in conversation, the weight of eyes watching every movement. When Meghan brushed past the guest Anna had personally escorted, it wasn't seen as confidence. It was seen as intrusion. To the untrained eye, this might seem trivial. But to those who understand this world, that's everything. Because in high fashion, deference is the currency of respect. Celebrities wait to be acknowledged by editors. Designers rise for Anna, not the other way around. When Meghan broke that order, she challenged the very structure that keeps fashion's hierarchy intact. It's ironic, isn't it? The woman who fought against royal hierarchy walked straight into another and disrupted it without even realizing it. The reactions were immediate. Several guests later described the moment as tense. One editor whispered, "You could feel the air change." A Paris-based stylist reportedly texted, "She just pulled a Diana, but without the grace." Harsh words, but in that environment, perception is instant and merciless. Anna's reaction, of course, was subtle. She didn't roll her eyes. She didn't flinch. She simply tilted her head slightly, a tiny gesture that, to those who know her, spoke volumes. That's the kind of control Anna wields. She doesn't need to scold. Her silence is discipline. After the show, the chatter among insiders was relentless. "She doesn't understand how it works here," one fashion executive said. "She thinks this is Hollywood. It's not. This is monarchy." The irony of that statement hung heavy. Meghan had left one monarchy to escape judgment, only to be judged by another, one just as ruthless, but dressed in couture. So let's ask the uncomfortable question: why does Anna's approval matter so much? Because in fashion, Anna isn't just an editor. She's the gatekeeper of legitimacy. If she endorses you, you're global. If she turns away, you're irrelevant. A single photograph beside her can revive a career. A missing invitation can bury it. That's why so many celebrities, Rihanna, Beyoncé, even Kim Kardashian, have learned to move carefully around her. Every smile, every word, every glance must be precise. They know the cost of overstepping. They know that, in Anna's presence, attention must be earned, not demanded. But Meghan's world works differently. She's used to commanding the camera, not waiting for it. That's the American style of celebrity, self-authored, self-owned. The Paris style, however, demands submission to the institution. Meghan's confidence clashed with that expectation like a storm over still water. And that's the beauty and tragedy of this moment. It wasn't just a culture clash. It was a collision of two worlds: monarchy and fashion, tradition and disruption, Anna and Meghan. There's something poetic about it, isn't there? The woman who left one hierarchy tried to claim a seat in another, only to be reminded that power never likes to share. But let's go deeper. Why would Anna, known for her calculated diplomacy, allow such tension to unfold publicly? Was it intentional? A lesson, perhaps? Some insiders think so. They claim Anna knew exactly what she was doing when she allowed Meghan's late adjustment to stand. She wanted to see how Meghan would behave, said one source. It was a test, and she failed it. Now, that's speculation, but it fits the pattern. Anna Wintour has a history of subtle power plays. Remember the rumored ban of Kim Kardashian before Kanye's intervention? Or her frosty years-long distance from certain reality stars who dared to overstep? Anna doesn't explode. She observes. Then she acts when everyone's watching. And if that's true, then this wasn't just a seating mishap. It was a demonstration. A quiet display of who holds the real power in Paris. But here's the deeper irony. The more Anna distanced herself, the more Meghan became the story. Every article, every headline revolved around her. Anna may have been the queen, but Meghan was the scandal. And in media, scandal always wins attention. Perhaps that's why Meghan didn't back down. Perhaps, for her, the controversy was worth it. After all, controversy keeps her visible. Still, inside the Paris power circle, visibility and respect are not the same thing. One opens doors, the other keeps them open. And Meghan, it seemed, had just lost the second one. By the next morning, whispers of the seat jump were everywhere. Editors swapped gossip over espresso. Stylists debated whether it was arrogance or accident. But one thing was clear: Anna had noticed. And in the days to follow, she would quietly, meticulously, and elegantly begin to reshape the narrative, without ever saying a word. Because when Anna Wintour decides to make a statement, she doesn't raise her voice. She releases a clip. And that clip, that clip, was about to expose more than anyone expected. It started as a whisper, then a murmur. Then, within hours, it became a digital explosion that Paris couldn't contain. A short clip, just 13 seconds long, was quietly uploaded to Vogue Paris's social media account. No caption, no music, no commentary, just raw footage of Meghan Markle walking past a guest, glancing toward the cameras, and taking her seat. To the untrained eye, it was nothing more than a moment of movement in a crowded show. But in the world of fashion, where meaning hides in gestures, that tiny clip became an earthquake. Here's the question that started it all. Why would Anna Wintour, the woman who has built her empire on silence and precision, allow that clip to be shared? Let's rewind to the moment before it dropped. Inside the Balenciaga venue, Vogue's video team had been capturing behind-the-scenes footage for a runway highlights segment. It was standard procedure, showing glamorous arrivals, flashes of couture, air kisses between elite guests. But this time, the footage didn't follow the usual formula. It lingered, just long enough, for the world to notice Meghan's move. She stepped forward. She bypassed a guest. She paused, then adjusted her bag with that same composed smile that always feels both rehearsed and defiant. Hours later, Vogue's Paris social team posted that 13-second moment as part of a short story on Instagram. No title, no explanation. And yet, the comment section ignited instantly. Did she just push ahead of someone? Look at Anna's face in the background. That's not royal behavior. Within 30 minutes, the clip was being reposted, slowed down, zoomed in, and dissected frame by hundreds of users. It spread like wildfire. Twitter, now X, lit up with the hashtag #ParisGate. TikTok creators made side-by-side comparisons, analyzing the posture, the timing, even the expressions of those seated nearby. One influencer captioned it, "Meghan forgot this isn't Hollywood." Another wrote, "Anna's silence says it all." And then came the questions. Was it an innocent moment caught at the wrong angle, or a deliberate attempt to upstage? Now, this is where it gets fascinating. Because Anna Wintour didn't say a word. She didn't issue a clarification, didn't respond to press inquiries, didn't even repost the clip on Vogue's main account. She didn't need to. That's the genius of Anna's control. She doesn't dictate the conversation, she curates it. And by choosing what to show, she made her opinion known without ever uttering a syllable. But let's talk about what was actually visible in the footage. The clip begins with Meghan walking toward her seat, the white Balenciaga ensemble practically glowing under the spotlights. Behind her, Anna Wintour and her circle were being guided toward the same row. Just as Meghan reaches the aisle, a guest, a well-known European socialite and longtime Vogue contributor, steps slightly forward to greet Anna. Meghan hesitates for a split second, glances to her left, and moves around her, taking the seat directly ahead. The guest pauses, visibly caught off guard, before recovering with a strained smile. Now, in normal circumstances, this would mean nothing. Crowded showrooms, tight spaces, rushed entries. It happens. But this wasn't just any room. This was Anna Wintour's front row, a place where movement is as choreographed as the runway itself. And by stepping ahead, Meghan had inadvertently positioned herself at the center of the frame. In the world of fashion optics, that's everything. Here's where it turns dramatic. Within hours of the video's release, fashion insiders began privately texting journalists. One PR executive reportedly messaged, "That was deliberate. Trust me," Anna noticed. A well-connected stylist told a French magazine, "She wanted the shot. That's why she moved." And yet, another voice, this time a former Vogue staffer, suggested something far more strategic. Anna's team doesn't post accidents, they said. If it went up with purpose. Could it be that the clip was a deliberate test, a silent form of discipline? Some believe Anna used the moment to send a warning. A message not just to Meghan, but to anyone who forgets that in the fashion world, decorum is currency. Let's be honest, Anna Wintour understands the power of media better than almost anyone alive. She survived decades of shifting trends, social movements, and celebrity egos by mastering one art, the art of silence that speaks volumes. Her decision to drop that clip, without context, without commentary, wasn't a coincidence. It was a controlled burn. Because the moment that clip hit social media, the narrative shifted. The coverage wasn't about Balenciaga's new collection anymore. It was about Meghan. Vogue's team didn't need to editorialize. The public did it for them. Every headline the next morning included her name. Every conversation in every front row circle turned to that single, silent gesture. And the reactions were polarizing. Supporters claimed it was misogyny, classism, and thinly veiled racism at play again. They're attacking her for existing, one commentator wrote. No one would say a thing if it were an American actress. Others argued that Meghan's critics were projecting, that the so-called rude act was just exaggerated gossip fueled by bias. But the counterpoint came fast and hard. This wasn't about race, one European fashion editor said in an interview. It was about respect. You don't jump a guest Anna personally escorted. That's the thing about Anna's world. it doesn't forgive missteps. There's no sympathy for misunderstanding. Because everyone in that circle knows the rules. If Meghan didn't, it wasn't ignorance, it was arrogance. At least, that's how they saw it. By the end of the day, Vogue Paris had quietly removed the clip from their story, but the damage was done. It had already been saved, reposted, and immortalized across the internet. The silence from both Anna and Meghan made it worse. Neither side addressed the controversy, leaving the world to interpret the silence as tension. And that's when the analysis began. Enter the body language experts. Dozens of them. They broke down Meghan's walk, her eye movements, even the angle of her chin. One viral analysis claimed she asserted dominance by leading with her shoulder. Another said she displayed territorial behavior by setting her bag down before anyone else had fully seated. It was absurd, fascinating, and impossible to look away from. But then something unexpected happened. Someone slowed down the clip and noticed something strange. In the background, just before Meghan moves ahead, you can see Anna Wintour tilt her head slightly to the side. Her assistant, standing behind her, lowers her eyes. A small gesture, invisible to most viewers, but in Anna's world, that was monumental. Those who knew her recognized it instantly. It was disapproval. Silent, subtle, deliberate disapproval. And just like that, the clip wasn't about Meghan anymore. It became about Anna's reaction. The queen of fashion didn't have to speak. Her eyes did the talking. By the next morning, news outlets from London to New York had picked up the story. Headlines like Anna Wintour's side-eye at Meghan Markle goes viral, and Paris Fashion Week erupts over Duchess's seating misstep dominated every platform. The Daily Mail dissected it from 10 angles. Even American morning shows covered it, with hosts debating whether it was a moment of empowerment or a cringeworthy faux pas. But the biggest twist came from within the fashion industry itself. An insider at Balenciaga allegedly told a reporter that the brand's PR team had been blindsided by the upload. That wasn't supposed to go live, they said. It was part of internal footage for Vogue's recap. Someone greenlit it too early. Too early, or right on time. Because even though it sparked backlash, it also gave Balenciaga the one thing every brand craves: attention. Suddenly, everyone was talking about their show, their name, their moment. Whether the clip was accidental or intentional, it had achieved what marketing budgets couldn't: viral dominance. Still, one truth lingered beneath all the gossip. Anna Wintour doesn't do accidents. Everything she allows to surface has meaning. Everything serves a purpose. And this purpose seemed crystal clear. Meghan Markle had stepped out of line, and now the world would see it. But here's the real twist. The clip we all saw wasn't the full story. Within days, whispers emerged about a longer version. An uncut version. One that revealed what happened before Meghan made her move. A few insiders claimed it painted an entirely different picture. That maybe, just maybe, she wasn't the aggressor after all. So who had the full footage? And what did it really show? As speculation grew, someone inside the fashion circle decided to leak it. Quietly. Anonymously. And when that longer clip surfaced, showing the seconds that Vogue had edited out, it changed everything we thought we knew about that night. In Paris, a single gesture can define a reputation. A misplaced glance, a delayed nod, a moment of hesitation, it all means something. But that night, at Balenciaga's Spring-Summer 2026 show, Meghan Markle's gesture didn't just mean something. It meant everything. The extended footage changed the tone of the entire scandal. It was no longer just a matter of stepping ahead. It was a question of intent, of control, of perception versus truth. When that longer clip leaked online, 47 seconds instead of the 13 Vogue had originally shown, it offered a rare, unfiltered glimpse into the seconds before Meghan made her now infamous move. The video opens differently this time. Meghan enters the venue with two aides trailing behind her, one holding a white Balenciaga clutch, the other whispering into her ear. The atmosphere feels tense, charged. The camera catches her pausing briefly near the entrance, as if waiting for a cue. You can hear the muffled sound of photographers outside, the echo of heels, the low hum of murmured French conversation. Then it happens. Someone gestures her forward. A young assistant, clipboard in hand, points toward the front row. This moment matters because, in the leaked clip, it's clear that Meghan didn't just stride forward uninvited. She was guided by staff who likely had no idea of the political choreography they were disturbing. That single gesture, the assistant's wave, was the match that lit the fire. Meghan moves gracefully but quickly. Her expression is calm, focused. She's not smiling this time, not waving to cameras, not putting on a performance. She's walking as if on autopilot, guided by instruction. But then, right as she approaches the aisle, the chaos begins. An older woman, draped in a pearl gray couture suit, steps into her path. This woman, as insiders later revealed, was none other than Marie-Claire de Saint-Just, a longtime fashion patron and one of Anna Wintour's oldest acquaintances. Marie-Claire reaches out, turning slightly, clearly expecting to greet someone behind Meghan. For a brief, breathless second, both women hesitate. And then Meghan steps to the side and continues forward. Not barging, not shoving, simply moving, politely, but decisively. But in that moment, perception split in two. To those watching from the front, Meghan had cut ahead of Marie-Claire, disregarding etiquette. To those behind, she'd simply moved where she was told to go. Two angles, two truths, one scandal. And that's what makes the fashion world so ruthless. It doesn't matter what actually happened. What matters is what people think happened. By the time the longer footage surfaced, it was too late. The narrative was already out. Meghan was the rule breaker. The woman who ignored the queen of fashion's hierarchy. The duchess who didn't know her place. But the leaked version forced people to look closer. Some noticed that Marie-Claire actually smiled after Meghan passed. Others pointed out that Anna Wintour's expression, previously read as shock or disapproval, might have simply been her normal stoic demeanor. Context shifted everything, and suddenly the internet split into two camps, the defenders and the condemners. One side said, see, she was told to go forward. This was never her fault. The other insisted, it doesn't matter, she should have known better. In that world, timing is everything. It's almost poetic, isn't it? The woman accused of defying royal protocol now found herself accused of defying fashion protocol. Different palaces, same politics. And in the middle of it all stood Anna Wintour, silent, unflinching, calculating. Some insiders began whispering that Anna's team knew about the longer clip before it leaked, that they'd reviewed it internally, discussed it behind closed doors, and decided not to release it themselves. Because ambiguity, after all, is power. Let people argue, speculate, project. It keeps the story alive. It keeps her in control. You see, Anna doesn't just control Vogue. She controls narrative rhythm. She understands that the strongest form of punishment isn't cancellation. It's confusion. Confusion breeds doubt, and doubt isolates. The longer Meghan stayed silent, the worse it got. Let's pause for a second and imagine her that night. Sitting in her Paris suite, scrolling through endless clips, headlines, body language breakdowns. Her team insisting it was a misunderstanding. Her PR advisor suggesting a statement. Her stylist quietly realizing they'd all become part of something much bigger. Did Meghan know the storm she was walking into? Or did she believe, like she had so many times before, that she could walk through fire and come out polished? Because here's the truth that no one in the fashion world will say out loud. This wasn't about a seating mishap. It was about belonging. Meghan's every move has always been a test of whether the gatekeepers would ever let her fully in. She's been at the fringes of royalty, Hollywood, philanthropy, and now fashion. Always close enough to touch the crown, but never quite allowed to wear it. This moment became symbolic, a microcosm of her entire post-royal existence. She walked forward when others thought she should wait. She took space that others thought she hadn't earned. And the world, conditioned to watch her through a lens of controversy, saw arrogance where there might have been uncertainty. Still, the longer clip did something unexpected. It made people question Anna's role. Why hadn't Vogue clarified the misunderstanding? Why allow the shorter, more incriminating version to circulate unchecked? Some suggested it was calculated PR. Controversy drives engagement. Others believed Anna was quietly teaching a lesson. In her world, etiquette must be learned the hard way. But then came another twist. A former Vogue assistant, posting anonymously on social media, claimed that Anna had personally reviewed both versions of the clip before the first one was released. She watched it 3 times, the post read. Then she said, "Let it go." Those 3 words ignited a new wave of speculation. Did Anna intentionally choose the more damaging version? And if so, why? Maybe it was strategy. Maybe it was punishment. Or maybe, just maybe, It was Anna reminding everyone who runs the runway. Because that's how power works in the Paris power circle. It's never loud. It's never explicit. It's whispered through choices, gestures, edits, and omissions. The extended clip didn't absolve Meghan completely. It complicated her. It turned her from villain into enigma. People couldn't decide whether to pity her or criticize her. And that's when things get dangerous. Because in media, ambiguity is the slowest kind of destruction. It doesn't crush, it corrodes. By week's end, every major outlet had weighed in. Some printed side-by-side stills of both clips, arguing over intent. Others published think pieces about cultural differences in etiquette, trying to intellectualize what had started as a viral scandal. Even Balenciaga's creative director, when asked about the drama, laughed awkwardly and said, "Fashion should never be this political." But it was too late. The politics were already woven into the seams. Here's where the irony hits hardest. In that 47-second video, Meghan barely spoke, barely moved, barely reacted, and yet her silence echoed louder than the entire show. It wasn't her words that caused outrage. It was the world's projection of them. And that's the paradox of Meghan Markle. She's both the story and the silence between the stories. She represents everything people want to believe about ambition and everything they fear about defiance. Still, there was one more layer no one expected. The leaked footage didn't just surface randomly. Someone close to the event had uploaded it. Someone who wanted it seen. And as whispers began spreading through Parisian media circles, one name kept coming up: a Vogue editor's assistant, rumored to be close to someone on Meghan's team. If that's true, then this wasn't just an accidental leak. It was an act of defiance, maybe even revenge. Because in the coming days, more information would surface. And it would reveal that the person who leaked the extended footage wasn't just a random insider. They had a connection that would drag both Anna Wintour and Meghan Markle into a new storm, one that no amount of editing could contain. But before that truth came out, Anna herself made a move that would freeze Paris in silence once again. Anna Wintour never shouts. She doesn't need to. In a world built on whispers, her silence carries more weight than thunder. When she disapproves, there's no public statement, no dramatic confrontation, only a chilling absence. Invitations stop arriving. Names disappear from guest lists. Magazine pages suddenly have new faces. And at Paris Fashion Week, after that Balenciaga moment, Meghan Markle felt that cold silence begin to close in. Because when Anna Wintour moves against someone, it isn't with a sword, it's with a smile. In the days following the viral clip, something subtle but powerful began to unfold. Vogue's social media accounts stopped featuring any photos of Meghan from the event. The recap articles that usually list key attendees skipped her name entirely. Even the official Balenciaga event summary, initially uploaded to Vogue.com, was quietly edited overnight. Meghan's image vanished. No explanation, no correction. She was simply gone. To those in the industry, that meant one thing. Anna had made her decision. Let's pause here for a second, because this is how you know the difference between a temporary controversy and a real exile in fashion. Temporary controversy gets you headlines. Real exile gets you deleted. Now, those who know Anna Wintour's history understand this isn't her first quiet strike. She's done it before. When a young designer once mocked Vogue publicly, he found his next collection mysteriously under-reviewed. When a reality star begged for a Met Gala invitation years before earning her stripes, she was politely told, "We'll see," and then never saw one. Anna's control isn't about cancellation, it's about containment. If she decides you're a distraction, she removes your presence like a surgeon cutting out a flaw. So, when Meghan vanished from the Balenciaga coverage, insiders immediately began whispering, "She's been iced." But how does Anna choose who to ice out, and when? That's where her genius lies. She understands optics. For decades, she's balanced celebrity chaos with fashion credibility. She embraced the Kardashians when their star power became unavoidable. She elevated pop culture without letting it dilute her brand. But Meghan Markle was a different kind of storm. Too royal for Hollywood. Too Hollywood for royalty. Too unpredictable for fashion's order. Anna doesn't tolerate unpredictability. Reports started circulating that Anna's team was reassessing guest coordination protocols after the Balenciaga show. Translation: they were rewriting the rules to make sure another Meghan moment could never happen again. PR directors received quiet calls. Assistants were briefed. No unapproved seat adjustments, one Vogue executive reportedly said during a meeting. And no exceptions for personal requests. And just like that, Meghan's name became shorthand for chaos. Behind closed doors, the discussion wasn't just about her seating. It was about control. Fashion has its hierarchy for a reason, one senior editor said. When someone challenges that, even unintentionally, it undermines the system. But was it really about hierarchy or something deeper? Because here's the thing. Anna Wintour had once been among Meghan's quiet supporters. She had publicly defended the Duchess's individuality in interviews, calling her modern and refreshing. She even praised Meghan's wedding look, describing it as the definition of timeless simplicity. Somewhere along the line, that admiration turned to ice. Maybe it was the Oprah interview, which put every elite institution under a microscope. Maybe it was Meghan's pivot into lifestyle branding, positioning herself as a competitor to Vogue's cultural territory. Or maybe, just maybe, it was that 147-second moment in Paris that snapped the last thread of patience Anna had left. Because Anna doesn't just protect her brand. She protects fashion's social order. And in that moment, Meghan had stepped out of line in a way that couldn't be ignored.